Yes, thank you, Frank. Actually, it's really a beautiful day here at the lake in Neuruppin. Um, I'm looking in the screen, but it's very difficult because if I look out of the window, I'm looking over the beautiful Ruppiner Lake, and it's we are here almost in the middle of the forest. But the sun is very beautiful, but it's very chilly outside. So a few days ago in the morning, I thought, okay, let's try out the lake, and but it was a real shock. It's such a shock I have didn't experience for quite some time because the water is so cold, and I think I never made it to get so quickly out of the water as this time. So since that time, I'm trying to avoid it. Actually, the sun is a little too strong. I will just close the curtain.
Yeah, sun is always nice, but in this case, it's probably better. Yeah, now we can see you much better.
Much better.
Yeah.
Yes, it's much better. Yes, it's for me. It's an interesting time because a dream is coming true. Because I'm very very much interested in everything around the research on Healy, and we are getting so many good ideas. And when we get a good idea, we are very confident that it works also. And then we try it on ourselves, and we try it with small groups, and we make our experience. But this experience is still limited to small groups. And before we launched, we decided before launching the Healy Coil, and I believe most of you are really waiting for it. It will happen, I think, 1st of June. We said we will only launch it if the study which we are performing on it will be successful. So this was quite courageous from us, because you never know what's the outcome of a study. So we were all quite really curiously waiting for it. So I will present today a little insight into the results of the study, not fully, because we want to publish it in a peer-reviewed journal, scientific journal of complementary medicine. So therefore, we don't publish all the results before, but give you an insight. But before coming to this really important topic, I want to talk about something else, which also is very important, and many of you have made great experience with what we call the coherence program. I think must be 2 months ago when we decided we will give everyone the coherence program for free. And behind this also were new insights into the nature of frequencies. The nature of frequencies is that some frequencies have the ability to, or can have the ability to promote coherence, which is a very important quality of any organism or living entity. Coherence is the ability of the parts, of the subsystems of an organism to communicate with each other. So a human being is really very complex. There's a body, there's a mind, there's a soul, and even our mind is so complex. It has so many psychological divisions, and there's the consciousness, there's the unconscious, and in the unconscious, so you have so many different layers. Our consciousness has functions like thinking and feeling and sensation and intuition. And the very most important thing about all this is to integrate all these different functions, to integrate all the mental functions, to integrate all the soul functions and all the bodily functions, and then integrate them all together around what we call the self, our true nature as a living being. So coherence is kind of, it's really a scientific term, and there are methods to measure coherence of a living entity, but coherence is also a quality of a society. For example, there are lots of studies nowadays on social coherence or even on corporate coherence, because coherence means the ability to communicate and to focus, and the ability to face challenges from outside. It's a balance between protecting your structure and being open towards your environment and creative impulse from outside. So it sounds like something we really need, especially in Healy world. So there's also a coherence within the company. And a few months ago, I really sensed that there's an urgency to improve our own coherence. There's an urgency for myself to improve my own coherence, my own on my own spiritual way. So whenever I think something is good for me and good for the Healy world, I believe it's good for the people and the way around. So therefore we published it. And when we published it, I think a few weeks ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago, we asked the people to kindly fill in a questionnaire in the beginning, and then for 2 weeks apply the coherence program day by day, once or twice, and then after 2 weeks fill in the same questionnaire again. So this was it's called a pre-post observation trial. So pre-post means before and after. Before application and after application, we're using internationally recognized questionnaires like the WHO5 questionnaire of general well-being and the MIMOP questionnaire on concerns which you have, which actually disturb your well-being. So it's a positive and a negative approach, kind of complementary. And most of you know the questionnaire because we have sent it to you. So until now, we have analyzed and evaluated from the 4,000 complete data sets which we got, 3,000. So the result is very, very solid. And I would like to present you also now just a small selection of the results, because also this we will put together in a scientific publication and get it published and then share all the details with you. So Frank, if you share the presentation with us. So here's a happy notice. It's not a disclaimer. I think it's called a notice, and I call it happy notice because everything should be happy and coherent. So for those who are listening in the United States or in Europe, again, here is a small notice, and it's mainly about that coherence and also the Healy program, which we used for the study on the coil, are not medical applications at all, but they are what we call individualized microcurrent frequencies, IMF, which are, remember, the core of Healy is really to analyze from the information field the actual frequency resonances and apply them in real time. So whenever you use your Healy, the frequencies are tailor-made for you in this situation now with a specific purpose you have. Tailor-made frequencies. Whereas in our medical applications, which are different in US or in Europe, we're using a set of fixed frequencies. So we are not talking about those, but we're talking about the individualized microcurrent frequency programs. They are not intended to achieve a medical result, but they're meant for harmonizing the information field, the bioenergetic field, create bioenergetic balance and well-being. So, and therefore also this is what we tested in the study. So here's already a first result of 3,000 of complete. Complete means in the beginning and in the end, we have a complete questionnaire. We received much more, but those which were really complete to enter into the analysis are displayed here. Fortunately, we have a control group. That's very important in the study. It means there is a certain smaller group of only 114 people which didn't use the coherence program, but they also didn't use any other Healy program. So basically they did nothing in these 2 weeks for like with frequencies for the well-being. So and here we see very clearly that's not a good idea, because on a scale from 0 to 25, the initial well-being score is 13 points, which is a little more than half, which makes sense because the center means basically I'm quite okay, not very special, but also not very especially bad. So, and the green column is after 14 days. So the well-being score, according to a World Health Organization questionnaire with 5 questions, which is internationally used very widely, it actually dropped. So it's a signal. If you don't do anything for your well-being, then it might drop. So on the other side, those who use the coherence program, initially they estimated their well-being on around 13. But after the application of the coherence program for 2 weeks, it was increased to 15.3. So that's a significant increase, whereas the control group dropped. Actually, this group is around 2,700 people, and this group is smaller. So altogether, it shows a big difference. And as I will show you a little later in the 2 more slides, how big this size is compared with other studies. Here's another slide where after 2 weeks, people, the participants actually estimated the change which they experienced in terms of burdens, in terms of concerns. Concerns are burdens or symptoms which reduce the well-being. So in the control group, the success on relief after 2 weeks was estimated with 10 points on a scale between 0 and 30. That's not very high. So the coherence group didn't have a big, not the coherence, but the control group didn't have a big success, which we also didn't expect. So it's like a baseline of 10.3 points on the scale, whereas those who used the coherence program estimated the success on relief from concerns on 17.2 on a scale from 1 to 30. So this is a very, very significant increase. So, but how significant this is already good news. So people use the coherence, feel much better, but how much is this actually in their well-being? So there is an international coefficient. It's called coherence effective size measure, and the abbreviation of it is a D. It's Cohen's D. 1988, Cohen, a scientist, suggested this statistical parameter, which is a very simple formula behind. It's you divide the effect by the size of the standard deviation. So, and then you get Cohen's D. So Cohen himself suggested that if D is smaller than 0.5, it's a small effect. If it is in between 0.5 to 0.8, we have a middle large effect. If it is between, or if it's above 0.8, it's considered a large effect until 1, but D larger than 1 is considered a very large effect. So let's look at the results of the coherence well-being survey, and probably switch me to left up. Yes, we have 5 main parts in the study. The first is the WHO5 questionnaire. The second is the questionnaire on the coherence. The third is the questionnaire on the main 3 disturbances, concerns of your well-being. And then there is 2 final evaluations, self-assessments of the application success. So we have Cohen's D coefficients of 1.03, 1.09, 2.0, 2.026 is a small effect, but all the others are above 1. And even those 2 are above 1.2, almost 1.2 and almost 1.3. So I think for just an application of 2 weeks of using the coherence program once or twice a day, this is for us even a very surprising result, and we are so happy about it because coherence is really at the heart of what Healy wants to promote. It's a very holistic measure of our well-being, our participation in life. It's all about this. Life is a flow, and life is opulence, and it has so much to give to us. And whatever condition we are in, we like to participate in life. We like to participate in our environment, in social environment, especially in these times. The sense of being able to participate fully in life was so much reduced according to the last year situation. So we are actually so happy that we could contribute a little with using this and giving this coherence program to those who used it, which were much more than 100,000 people, to help you to improve your own sense of participation, your own sense of coherence. So that's an amazing result, and it really encourages us so much to continue also with our studies and gather more and more data about what works and how Healy works, how it affects your well-being, your coherence, your resilience. And we have a long list of studies which we want to do, and we are becoming more and more efficient. So in future, we will be able to conduct such a study with less than 2 months, and we always have the aim to get it also published. Something which will start probably next week already is that whenever some new customer or new member ordered a Healy, he will get a Healy, and with the Healy will get a questionnaire. And then after 2 weeks and after 4 weeks, he again will get the same questionnaire. So we can monitor the first 2 and 4 weeks, how he feels, how he develops, how he experiences a relief on concerns on his well-being. And we can track very, very individually how the effect of Healy on people. So imagine now we have around 1,000 new people using Healy a day, and it's increasing. Imagine what it means. In a month, it's 30,000 new people using Healy. And if only 20% of those fill in the questionnaires, and I believe they will, this means 6,000 full sets of data. An amazing feedback we are getting very, very systematically in future. And we wanted to wait for the results of the coherence study to start this ongoing program. And I think this is a really good news, and we will continuously publish it. But now you have, of course, a big question. What was the result of the Healy Coil study? Actually, we don't have all the data sets complete, but we have more than 70% complete already from 300 people who participate in this study. So the 300 people are divided in 3 groups of 100. This is called a 3-armed study, and it's an observation study. It's called randomized controlled observation study. Randomized means we choose the 300 people randomly from a much larger set of thousands of people who actually wanted to participate. First thing. The second thing is we randomized the 3 groups. So one group applied the Healy with the Healy Coil, 100 people. Second group applied the Healy only with the cables, traditionally. And the third group is a control group who didn't do anything with frequencies or Healy in this 2 weeks and didn't start any other particular intervention. So that's the basic design of the study. There's much more about. So we have We have created a 40-page report on the study design. We have registered it with Ethics Commission. That's very important so that it can be published later in a scientific journal. We have a scientific advisor who's actually conducting the study, is Professor Dr. Harald Wallach, who is an expert on this kind of clinical studies and a professor on evaluation of complementary medicine therapies. And he has many credentials. He published more than 600 scientific papers already in peer-reviewed journals. So he's actually guarantees the quality of the design of the study and the study itself. So what we have now is, again, it's 70%. And I will just present you one slide of 7 or 8 different ways to look at the results. It's here. It's a self-assessment of the success of the application after 2 weeks. So we have the 3 groups. One is blue. Blue is a control group. They didn't do anything, and it's on a scale of 1 to 35, around 16, with a very small arrow here. This is the range. How is it called in English? It doesn't matter. It's a statistic error. It's very small. So we have a quite secure result of almost 16 in the control group. It's a little less than half on the scale. So this is means the improvement over the 2 weeks, which is in the middle means nothing big changes. It's slightly negative compared to the group which applied the Healy, and we only allowed programs from the gold cycle. People could choose 1 or 2 or 3 of them and apply at least 1 in a day, could be also 2. So here's the success of the Healy group, application success. It's 25.3 compared to 15.8. That's a difference. And here's the Coil result. It's 25.5. We were a little shocked. Actually, my personal expectation, I wasn't sure, was that the Coil performs in between the control group and the Healy group. But that's the result. We can't change it. The Healy Coil performs as good as the Healy. Remember, no medical programs were applied, pure IMF programs for harmonizing the bioenergetic field for well-being purpose, as 98% of our programs are actually means taking the Healy, which in the back has this physical, oh here it is, the physical noise generator to contact the information field and finding the personal individual frequencies of the moment, tailor-made. So this kind of applications, and we're quite happy. And here in the right corner, you find an important information. Remember the Cohen-D effect size measure, an internationally recognized parameter derived from the statistics. It's the highest, even compared with the coherence survey. It's 1.31. Everything above 1 is considered a really large effect. So Healy gives us a large effect on the gold cycle programs, and the Coil also. And believe me, we are so happy about this because expectations are high on the Coil, and it even gives us more confidence. We had already almost 10 years of experience with applications of this kind of bifilar coils with time waiver, using it also for animals, using it with people, and we had a good feedback. But it was not quantized, but we didn't have a quantitative evaluation. And so we are so happy about this. And this is the way, whenever we will come up in future with new Healy IMF programs, they will undergo such a randomized controlled observation study, and we will always publish the results so that we are really transparent, and we will figure more and more out in which direction to to improve Healy and to improve the equipment. And so it's a good day. It's a good day for Healy. And we already today had a meeting with our research team and our clinical study team, which is a large team already of clinical experts and experts on studies and statistics and so on. And we already have defined the study design for the next 4 studies, which are going on simultaneously now. One will be done with an Egypt hospital, and another one will be done with an external therapist, and 2 will be done again with the same team with Professor Dr. Harald Wallach. So we are on the way to create more and more data. And for me, that's great fun, because I love science, and I love to find ways also to measure the size of the effects which we're having, because from these quantities, it will help us so much also in improving the quality of what we are doing. So for me, this is really great news, and I hope I could inspire you with these results, and more will come, because we will comprehend all these results in a report, and we will ask Professor Wallach to author an article about it and get it published. He has already selected 2 or 3 journals to choose from to get it published. So that's the good news. The bad news is we have to wait. It's not a bad news, but the other side of the coin is that when we go the scientific way with publications, we cannot disclose all the, or we don't want to really disclose all the results before, but we go the way which is the best way for it. So here's again a picture of the field which the Healy coil creates. Remember, the Healy coil is a double coil. So on both sides, here it is visible, from the other side it's not visible. There is a coil which creates a magnetic field, but they're connected in the middle. So the one side is creating a field in this direction, and the other is creating a field in this direction. So plus minus is 0. We are creating a 0 field, means it's a magnetic field, but it doesn't have any energy in the field. It doesn't create a force. It doesn't create a force on the particles, like the electrons which are moving in the field or other charged particles. So how does it affect matter? How does it affect at all? So it doesn't affect on this level, but already intuition tells us if we have a positive plus a negative effect, each has an energy. It doesn't cancel really to 0, but it creates something in the background. It creates a background field, and this is called a potential. It's the electromagnetic potential, which works on the quantum level. It works on the wave function of the particle. So it's a deeper level. It works on the informational level, but it's a clearly physical level, which was discovered by David Bohm and Aharonov, and it became very famous as the Bohm-Aharonov effect, which is known since the 50s, and especially now there are a lot of scientific publications on it. And so that's the level on which Healy coils actually transfers the frequencies, which are generated by the frequency generator of your Healy. When you connect it to the Healy coil, it becomes 1, and it's so beautifully compact. I'm really loving it. In the last weeks, I'm mainly using the Healy in this way. Actually, right now, because of some issues, I'm giving it to my children every day, to my daughter and to my son. Actually, they have to use it with cables. I didn't tell them yet that there's a coil, so that if they would know, they would say, "Oh, Dad, give me the one with the coil. It's much easier. I don't have the cables," but I don't want it, because at that time also I didn't have the results of the study yet, and I believe in the cables. So it's not that the coil replaces the cables. No, you can't use the medical applications with the coil, because they are working on a different level. So it's a question on which level do the cables work, Healy with cables, with microcurrent, on which level does the coil work, and on which level does the resonance module of Healy work. It's 3 different levels. And this is what I want to talk about now. Actually, here in this graphic, you see the magnetic field, which actually is 0, but still you see the field lines. But here, this little reddish, like a finger, pointing out of the Healy in both directions, that's the magnetic potential. It's called also the vector potential. So the waves emanating from it are vector potential waves. And you shouldn't confuse it with scalar waves, because scalar waves, as the name already says, is waves in a scalar field. But the quantum, the potential, it's a vector potential. So behind the electric field, there's a scalar potential. Behind the magnetic field, there's a vector potential. And many times this is confused. So in a strict terminology, scientifically, this is not scalar waves, but it's waves in the vector potential, which is also working on the quantum level. So all this, let's go to the last slide, which I have prepared for you. And I show it to you now, don't get shocked. So what I'm presenting to you is emerging science. It's not really the orthodox view of science and orthodox medicine on how a human being functions and what different scientific levels are there, but it's my view on reality, including consciousness, including quantum processes, including information field, including matter, and I try to put it all into one diagram. And I have written a 60-page paper on it in English language with more than 175 scientific references to actually base my view, my personal view on scientists like David Bohm, like Roger Penrose, also like the researchers from the Peer Lab, like Professor Prigozhin and Pibram, and so many others who have already talked about the importance of information and frequency. But this model I'm showing you is not the orthodox science or medicine view on a human being, but it's an emerging view. Here it is. So again, I think, Frank, you can switch me to the right corner down here, so that the yeah, that's fine. Also good. So here I put together all the different levels systematically of a whole human being as I see it. So where am I? I am in the middle. Imagine yourself to be in the middle of this diagram. And if you look to your front, actually now probably you're looking into your computer screen or you're looking into your mobile phone. Actually, I'm also looking into this computer screen now, and now I'm looking at the lake. Now I'm looking back at you indirectly. So this is the direction, the front direction into which our consciousness is directed. It's focused. It's the foreground of reality. I would like to call it the explicit order. David Bohm called it in this way. It's manifested in space and time, and that's the realm of manifest physics. It's actually the realm of matter. It's down here. Here is our material body with its environment, which is very important, and the larger environment, the universe. Our body consists of molecules. They consist of elementary particles and atoms, but the molecules, they are forming larger subsystems like biological macromolecules. They're forming cell organelles, and we have the cell with the cell membrane around, and they're coming together to form tissues and organs, and then we have the organism. So that's going on down here. But this material molecular body is permeated by what we call the electromagnetic body, which has a down and an upside. The downside of the electromagnetic body, it's actually electric potentials and electrical particles flowing through the cell membrane, flowing through the matrix in which our cells are embedded, and they're creating potential differences and therefore like voltages, for example, between the intracellular and the extracellular space. So that's an important electrical structure which needs to be intact, which needs to be strong in order to have a strong environment in which our molecules, which are ions also, which are charged, which have electrons, can function well. And the upper side of the electromagnetic body is fields. It's very weak, ultra weak electromagnetic fields, which some scientists call, like Fritz Albert Popp call, biophotons. It's quantum already, it's electromagnetic fields or radiation within our body, which already exhibits quantum properties like entanglement, like coherence and stuff. It's almost like biological laser light. So this is the material aspect. But I believe that this material body down here is mirrored, and the mirror axis is the quantum level, quantum processes, quantum fields, and the upper side, the mirror image, is the information field. This is what David Bohm calls the implicit order. It's information by nature. It's not matter. And information has a material side and a spiritual side. On the one side, it acts on our body. On the other side, it's consciousness, because information is nothing material, but it interacts with the material system. So I read a wonderful book from an Italian professor, and I can recommend it to you. His name is Giuseppe Vitiello. Giuseppe Vitiello. He's a very recognized quantum field theorist, and together with two eminent neurobiology scholars, Professor Freeman and Japanese Professor Omozawa, he published, very well published, developed a theory that we have a double in the quantum vacuum, and this is related to our consciousness. And that's pure information. So I like this idea that my material explicit order has a double behind the curtain in the unmanifest background of reality, in the information field, or call it the quantum vacuum. And this double is our information field. And the lower part of the information field, I like to call the bioenergetic field, which is related to our subtle body. But there are other parts like the mind and the soul, which together create the individual information field, which is again, like our body is embedded in the universe, which is again embedded in the global information field. So all this constitutes the information field, which is constituted by quantum entanglement. So I like the idea of a double. So the explicit Marcus is sitting here in front of you, but I feel that there is an implicit Marcus. It's a background of my consciousness. I'm sitting on this chair, but there is a background. We call it the unconscious. And if we go deeper into our own unconscious, we can discover words. In the beginning, it's personal words. It's kind of a shadow, but if we go deeper, we come closer to the level we call soul. But if we go even deeper, the space within opens up wider and wider until it becomes so wide that it's not our own individual personal space anymore, but we start to connect with the individual personal spaces of the other conscious beings around us. We reach down to a level where we are one. Then we find that the individual information field kind of merges into a larger global information field. Call it the collective unconscious. So that's the counterpart, that's the double of us. And in the double, there are actually different laws. Professor Vitiello Giuseppe Vitiello is of the opinion, together with Freeman and Omozawa, that whenever we touch this level of the quantum vacuum, our double, from this events, two types of time process emanate. One time process is a wave which propagates to the future. And that's normal, because if I do something now, like this, or send an email, this sends a wave to the future. So it causes in the future certain events. So if I send an email to one of you, you will read it, you will answer, and we start a whole conversation which will change the world to some small degree. So whatever I do now through a wave which propagates towards the future initiates a time forward causality. But on this deep quantum field level, all physical processes are symmetrical. Symmetrical means that whatever propagates in time forward, also because of time symmetry, propagates time backwards. So we have two waves, one going to the future, one going to the past. So what does it mean? Events from the future send waves to the past. So imagine now, we are here now. So we are receiving waves from the past, which are actually the causes of the effects which we are experiencing right now. For example, I had lunch maybe 2 hours ago. So what I was eating is influencing my well-being right now. That's a wave from the past. But we are receiving also on this deeper level waves from the future right now. Imagine. So the present moment on this deeper level is something like an interference of waves coming in from the past and waves coming in from the future. So it's not so simple that, okay, oh my God, I have done a mistake in the past, so that's a result. But the presence is also a result of everything to come. So if this is interfering, if this is creating the extended quantum presence, it means that everything is connected by meaning, that nothing really happens by chance, that we are connected with visions which realize in the future. Like I had a webinar recently with Spanish-speaking members. It was, I think, more than 1,500. And a leader in the beginning, he said, oh, when I started Healy, I didn't believe you would become so successful. I said, no, I don't believe it. You started it because in this moment you received a wave from now where you are so successful with Healy. And this created an intuition. It created a feeling. It created a wave in your subconscious, in your unconscious. And they are overlapping with your experience from the past. And they're creating this miracle of nowness, of presence, in which we are connected on so many deep levels, with the level of purpose, with the level of intention, with the level of our values and our spiritual values. So the deepest levels within us connect us through our whole lifetime, from birth to death. And there are even larger correlations which connect the purpose of our life with a greater meaning, with which we have within this universe. So I believe this is a deep quantum level which we intend to touch. And the Healy can't touch it itself because it's just a lump of matter and electronics. The Healy can't do it, even with the physical quantum noise generator in the back, which is analyzing the frequencies. No, it can't. It can't. It's just electronics. It only functions together with you. It only functions together with your head and your heart, with your consciousness. Your consciousness, the ability of your consciousness to touch the information field, quantum entangles with the Healy. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. By itself, it's just a bunch of matter, and worse, just the ingredients of the electronics, some $100, nothing more. So, and the work, of course. So it's really a partnership. It's a quantum entanglement of you, your intention, your purpose with the information field through the Healy. And I believe with the coil, we are touching down to this deeper level. So therefore, the coil here on this side, it's represented by the green arrow. And the green arrow is it has the shining green part in the middle. So the coil acts on the level of the potential, electromagnetic potential, quantum potential. It interacts with the phase of the wave function, which is the informational level. So it works here, and of course it reaches up to the bioenergetic field. It also reaches down to the upper level of the electromagnetic field. So that's the middle area which is covered by the coil. And from there it reaches down deeper and it reaches higher, and it uses real physical frequencies which you can measure in hertz. So it's a physical process. The same physical process we have with the cables. Healy, if you use it with the coil or with the cables, creates the same frequencies with the same process touching the information field, also involving your consciousness, or better, your unconscious intentions. But because it modulates the frequencies, not on a potential, a quantum potential, but on electrical current, which you can measure, which is flowing through the arms or locally through your tissues, through your body, to your cells. It reaches down, and it has its priority somewhere between the material, molecular, and the electrical or electromagnetic body. Obviously, it's working here, but it reaches up, especially through the higher frequencies, also to the quantum level and to the bioenergetic field. So there is an overlapping, but the center of the cable applications of the microcurrent frequencies is down here. And then approximately here, the central area of effect of the coil starts approximately until there. Of course, it still reaches up and down. And then the Healy resonance takes over. And the Healy resonance, and it's so important to understand, doesn't use the frequencies in hertz generated by the frequency generator, but it's working through the physical noise process. It's a random event generator, which is quantum process based on the quantum shot noise. And this is going through quantum entanglement. So it's on a different level. So if you take them all together, and purposely I choose the colors of the rainbow, you have the blue part, left side of the spectrum. Then you have a green and the yellow and the orange. It's becoming red, and then it becoming infrared. So we want the whole spectrum, because if you take all the colors of the rainbow together, you get the white color, the shining white color of the sun, or you get the shining white color of the Healy. So Healy is emanating this kind of light metaphorically, and we want the whole spectrum. We want the shining white light, and I believe now we are complete. We have covered with a cable, with a coil, with a resonance, all the three important areas. We can say the electromagnetic, the quantum, and the bioenergetic, or informational, and this makes me really happy that we managed so quickly to complete this range of the spectrum of human wholeness. So, and if you use the Healy, especially with the Healy coil, metaphorically, you can understand that Healy is sitting on the same place where your consciousness sits. It's in the center. It's in between the material and the spiritual. It's between the bodily and the informational aspect of reality, and it's connecting. It's connecting by an ongoing process, and these processes are in ancient traditions. They are called chi or prana. In modern terminology, we call it bioenergetic processes or quantum processes. And this is the level from where Healy is supposed to work and connect us and increase our coherence. So this was just little overview, and I have written the 60 pages on it, and many have already asked me, and I'm still hesitating to get it published in this way, because I have made a small excerpt, I boiled down the 60 pages to around 12 pages, and I'm also submitting it for a scientific journal to get published. And afterwards, I want to publish it so that everyone can access this large version also. So please wait a little until it gets published, but until then I can always transport parts of this knowledge through this kind of webinars. So thank you very much for your attention today. I hope it helped you to understand a little more deeper what you have in your hands. I would say the shining light which you have in your hands, which helps you to stay connected. So again, thank you so much for your endeavor in Healy work. Thank you for using Healy, because if you use Healy, it fulfills my life purpose. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Marcus, sharing all this information with us. You know, for me, it's just exciting to see how much more scientific studies there are to come. And I have to say, you know, when I look, I'm so grateful that I already have my Healy coil, as you can see here on the back of the Healy, because I saw in the chat people asking how to use it. You know, this is usually the back of your Healy, and you just slip it on here where usually the entrance for the cable is. This is where the coil goes. So you just slip it like this on the back of your Healy, and then you're ready to go. And I can say I'm the most luckiest person in the world, because I have my coil, I'm using my coil, and I'm so happy that I don't have to use the cables. But Marcus, a lot of people asking, especially coil versus cables. You know, I know that a lot of you out there love to feel the frequencies, and I have to say I love that too. And I miss that sometimes with the coil because you don't feel it. But I can tell you I have the same effects than if I use the cables. So maybe you want to say something to that too, Marcus.
If you want to see what a man really believes, then find out what he does for his family and his children. So I already told you about it, because I'm really caring for them, and I really, you know, we can't try to help the world if we don't start at home. It's so important. We are all using Healy. And to my children, I say, use the cables, use the cables. It's so important, even if it's slightly disturbing. I mean, you can do your homework by it. You can do so many things. Even you can wash the dishes while doing it. So if I want to be sure, I'm using the cables. Sorry, I'm a very conservative man, as you know. I'm using the cables. I believe in matter, but of course I believe in spirit and in the information field. So for myself, I'm using the coil, but in between I use the cables, and again. You can. I would say, if you have a Healy, and you have a Healy, use the cables at least twice a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and choose the programs well. If you want, use them every day. But every day, because it's so simple, use the coil, and like this, you're complementing. If you have a resonance Healy also, you can once a week make an analysis. Don't do it every day, you know. Do it once a week, or even once in 2 weeks is enough. And then every day, use the same optimization list. Give it time. Give it time. We don't have to use, in the beginning, we use Healy from morning to evening. We can't be an hour without, but it's also good to give our body time and our system time to actually, you can say, digest the information, digest the frequencies. Because one frequency, a small impetus, can be enough to keep you busy for a few days to integrate it. So yeah, the coil will never replace the cables, but it's a wonderful complement to it. So use both.
Especially also because the when you use the medical programs, you need your cables. But
Absolutely.
all the IMF programs, when you go to your gold cycle, for example, sometimes when you read balance or being, there's these little 3 dots on the top corner. You might have wondered what these are. This is the mark for our IMF programs, and the Coil works on all these IMF programs. But Marcus, maybe another question which comes up often. With the cables, we usually say use a Healy program 3-4 times a day maximum. Is there a limitation when you use it with the Coil in terms of amount of programs?
It depends on the purpose. It depends on the purpose. If you're working very purposefully, let's say you have a certain issue and you want to use your Healy to increase your well-being by relieving this issue, this concern. Then you work very focused. You're choosing the programs very well, you don't have to use them so often. But in between, I just like to stay connected. So I'm using coherence program, or I'm using a very general program like balance, for example. So you especially if you have the Coil, you don't have current through your body. You can almost use it like a companion. It will not disturb. So then it's almost like being live, stay connected live online. It's almost like, this is what we want. We want to live an inspired life. We want to be always connected with life itself and participate. And I believe Healy is helping us to participate even more in our environment, and I call it this long-range correlations. Sometimes we just see from Monday to Friday and we see what happens. But there's this long-range correlations in our life which give us purpose. For example, your true values, they are your companion your whole life. And if you, in the end of your life, you look at, why did I do this? Why did I do that? Why did I act in this way? Look at all your decisions. You see, oh my God, I had to act in this way because I acted according to my values, according to my deep spiritual nature. So this is really what we want to be connected with every moment. And this is for me the deeper purpose of Healy. So I again want to say, because I see the chat, I'm so happy that it really helped you, and to understand deeper. And you say thank you for the science. I can say it's science, but it's also philosophy. It's metaphysics. So it's not yet orthodox science, or maybe it will never become orthodox science. But that's not really important for us. But it's our view on reality, and I believe it's a much more holistic view than what physics can offer nowadays. But I'm so happy. I was so happy that Roger Penrose got the Nobel Prize for physics for the last year. In August, he has his 90th birthday celebration, and I will attend a conference on his 90th birthday organized by the University of Arizona, the Consciousness Research Institute. And Roger Penrose was a man on the highest level of science. His whole life, he discovered the black holes. He was promoting Stephen Hawking, doctorate on the black holes. But then he focused more and more about solving the riddle, solving the enigma of consciousness. He was convinced, and he's still convinced, that without understanding consciousness, we will never understand matter. Just imagine. So I believe science is on a really great way right now.
Well, thank you very much, Marcus, for sharing these great results and your views here with us. I know it's always very well appreciated when you do so. And now we come into some more practical information around this little thing here, and about how you can get it without even purchasing it yet. Okay, thank you very much.
So that's my last chance to go to the lake and take a quick bath, because the sun is still shining. So I will say goodbye already now. Thank you very much, Frank, and thanks to all of you. And actually, see you next Friday, because this is not a regular Frequency Friday. It's just a small intermezzo. But next Friday, I hope to see you all again. So
thank you, Marcus. Hey, enjoy your dip in the pool and take a big towel, because it might be very, very cold.
Yeah, I will think twice.
Okay, take care. Bye bye. Thank you, Marcus.